Should we put it up now? Should I record this?
No, it's fine, we can keep it. We can always connect the mic
Do I need
later.
to record this? It's being streamed, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to? What is this?
Do they save videos of...
Oh, mic.
Huh?
Mic.
Oh.
You can connect it.
Yeah.
What should we...
It's 10%. Oh my god.
What is this?
Wait, I'm pulling it. Why? Okay, whatever.
I'm gonna get camera.
It just says meet the pros. There's no data.
Did this meet the pros?
Yeah.
Actually.
I mean, that's what it says.
Okay, say it.
Wait, I'm gonna...
Can you check this live? Check if you can see it.
Yeah, let me just... Bro, why did you guys type so much? I'm trying to find the info doc.
Don't just save it.
Huh?
Just save the doc.
Yeah. I didn't. Well, I have it saved, but it's not letting me open it. It says I don't have permission.
Just open that, see if it works. Okay?
I'm Chandra. I'm a rising junior in high school, and I've been part of NSF ever since middle school. NSF has really been a large part of my middle school and high school career. After middle school, I got involved to continue as a coach, and I also did 2 workshops for NSF virtually, science and geography, and I hope to continue that in the future. And my advice for anyone studying, like Kavin said, practice every day with flashcards or practice quizzes. Honestly, repetition is the best way to study.
Hi everyone.
Hello. Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Siddarth. Thank you to my fellow panelists for giving your introduction. And my journey in science, like contrary to popular belief and what you might have in your mind, it didn't start like answering multiple choice questions or whatever. It's like started out in the living room watching like TV. So like the most important thing that I did as younger that like helped me shape who I am today is probably curiosity. I watched YouTube, I watched like Netflix documentaries, I read books. And so like if you're in the younger stage, elementary, middle school, or younger elementary or elementary, like my one advice is be curious, go to the library, read like a small book, or like watch YouTube or watch Netflix or something. And so that's my advice if you're young. And then I went to middle school. In middle school, I started like in early middle school, I started doing like math competitions, like they said, like math kangaroo, math counts. I got first in math kangaroo, second in math count states, things like that. And I started like working in math because I was curious in specifically like the logic of how our world works. But then as I started going into late middle school and early high school, I started to switch into science more because instead of answering like what happens when this and this happens like you do in math, in science it's like the why and the how. So that's what like intrigued me more. And so I competed in a lot more competitions with Northside. I've been doing competitions for a long time. And so if you're in middle school, my advice if you're in middle school is, like these people said, make sure you're studying and also find like one specific subject that you like care about that's fun to you and something that you're good at, like whether it's science, history, math, whatever. And then in high school now, I switched from actually like reading the textbooks to like actually writing it. And now I perform research and do a lot of research projects, and that's what I do right now in high school as a junior, going to TJHSSD, which is a pretty good school in Northern Virginia. And so, like some of my awards, I already mentioned a few math awards, science awards. I won a few North-South competitions. I got the first in the National Biology Bee and won the State Science Fair 2 times. And separate from science and math and STEM, I also do debate, and I'm a national competitor in debate.
NC is all around. Okay, very good. Next is Anirudh. Okay.
Hello, I'm Anirudh. I'm going into my sophomore year of college at UC Berkeley. science journey, I would say, starting from very young. I'd say a very similar journey to my previous panelists. I agree with everything that he said there. I think your science journey is very much about where you find passion for science from. For me, like, as like parents, I feel like you guys could probably relate to this. It's very hard to get your children to learn, get them to study, get them to sit in front of a book. So what my parents did was encourage me to find science and things I liked and enjoyed. So my introduction to it was actually watching ESPN sports science videos on YouTube, and these things would come up on TV, and I would always see how something I enjoyed so much introduced all these academic concepts that are always there in school. And from there, that kind of just cascaded into like a love for science, as I found an initial passion that I could relate to, and then from there it kind of cascaded. So yeah, in middle school I did a lot of like competitions, same ones that have been referenced here, like Math Kangaroo, Math Counts, Science Olympiad. I did a lot of Science Olympiad. I highly encourage, like, if your school has the opportunity in middle school and high school to delve into these competitions, as it's a really great way to inquire about these different fields, kind of start to actually explore more in depth into different niches of science and whether you like it, and see if that's something you enjoy. In high school, I did science fair. I placed 3 times first place at Kentucky State. I went to ISEF 1 year. Other than that, I'm a physics. I do a lot of Olympiads, so I do physics Olympiad. I have 2 international physics Olympiad awards for international physics Olympiad bowls. Not like the USMO stuff, but they're like other European like national awards. And yeah, other than that, my advice for middle schoolers, just keep learning, keep grinding, just figure out what you want to do, kind of in terms of science. Like, what do you like in science? What do you want to explore? Kind of explore. And then my advice for high schoolers, especially going into the college application process and stuff, is really find a passion, really dig deep into that passion, and from there you can really transmit and write a story about what really inspires you within whatever you like to do.
Okay, thanks, Anirudh. Yes, the slides are still not there yet, so we can probably go to the Q&A session. So, but what you see here is the whole spectrum of science journey, learning science, right, for the most junior to the most senior. Yeah. So let's go to the Q&A session, and then any of you can answer. There's one more Science Core team member here online, Lax from Boston. He has been with the Science Core team from the very beginning. He's unable to join us here today physically, but he's here online. So Lax, can you say something?
Why is you here? Yeah. I will have Chandra go with it to give a point. I'm just focusing on the audience.
Okay, while we wait for the slides to come up, let's go to the Q&A. Questions from children or parents? Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't know anything about the Math Kangaroo or Math Counts. Is that a competition, or what are those things?
Math Kangaroo.
So Math Kangaroo is basically a competition. So it's technically more like a test. So it's a test where you can get up to 120 points, and for each question you can get either 3, 4, or 5 points. And it's a test of like math, logical reasoning, and like observing patterns and stuff like that. So if you rank in like the top 30, then it means you've done a really good job. These people have gotten like first, the other panelists, so they're insanely good at it. But I ranked in the top 20 several times, so yeah, that's Math Kangaroo. I don't know about Math Counts, but I heard this panelist did it, so I think he'll explain it.
Thank you. That's a pretty good summary of Math Kangaroo. But Math Counts is like the main middle school math competition, specifically only for middle school. And so what they do is there's, I think, school, chapter, regional, states, and nationals. And you just take an exam. If you do good, you represent your school at the regionals, and then you just slowly advance your way down. It's got like 3 phases. It's been a long time since I competed, so I don't remember the details. But it's just a stereotypical math competition, if you will, and takes you all the way to nationals. So that's Math Kangaroo. So like a comparison between them is Math Counts is like straight up math. If you think of a math competition, that's what it is. Math Kangaroo is a bit more like logical reasoning. It's like kind of like brain teasers. And then NSF math competition is more on the Math Count side, I would say, with like straight up math. So yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. So the question was, for math, there's a lot of content online. For science, what sources can you use to improve your child's science knowledge? So part of it is the URLs I'm going to share if the projector comes on. But let's listen to some of the others here as well.
Sure, I can share. So I participated in a lot of different science competitions. Like I think I was a finalist in NSF when I was in middle school for science. I also participated in the International Environmental Science Olympiad. I think I got 5th there and won the International Environmental Science B. So for NSF, what I'd recommend is that there's a software called Anki, or you could also use a software called Remnote. I think you may have heard of it. You can make flashcards with that. Alongside that, so for NSF Science, since they test in various different subjects, what I recommend is spend 1 week on, like, for example, earth science, the next week on biology, next week on chemistry, and then repeat again, because if you do spaced repetition with your flashcards, it really helps you narrow down your subject fields even more.
It's important to find out what you're good at and what you're not good at. For example, last year when I participated, I wasn't that good in chemistry and physics. So when I was studying this summer, I was focusing on chemistry and physics to try to get better at it. That way, I can just try to get better in general, so I can do better this year.
I'd say one thing is, like, if it's competition based, a lot of times they give the resources on like the supplemental material. I highly suggest look at that, go as deep and thorough as you can in those, and then eventually, especially when you get into like later middle school competition, high school competitions, I'd say in my experience from like physics Olympiad, you pretty much were like kind of like studying straight from a textbook, where you're doing a lot of the problems that they make are in similar style to like textbook problems and stuff. That's obviously not a resource that's going to benefit every single child. Textbooks are definitely like hard to grasp and stuff, so if you're not going to textbooks, then this is where there's a lot of, like, for example, like in Science Olympiad, a lot of them have like wiki pages where they create like supplemental pages providing a whole bunch of information, and then they provide sources to other supplemental information on different various topics. It could be like anatomy, physiology. They'll have like an entire wiki page of every single topic that they're going to test on, and then they'll put like supplementing sources to different websites, different maybe articles and things that you can use reference. So I think a lot of it is also just like, maybe part of the studying process is really inquiring and like, asking questions about why certain things happen and what. So in a sense, like studying can also kind of be considered research and like really actually researching about it.
Hi. Sorry if I put you on the spot. Do you make omelets at home? Omelets. Do you cook eggs at home? Yes? Okay. So this answer may be not what you expected, but reality is science is all around us, right? So yes, those are resources, they are important, and I just want to add, if you work with Anki, there is now an app, something you cannot add called Pokemon Key, which allows you to grade Pokemons. Children may understand this better. As you solve more and more cards, it's a lot of fun. Okay, we have competition. So there is the fun side, but I think when you start looking at resources and when you go by a syllabus, when you are looking at points, they're all important. But I would say the spirit is more important than anything else. You heard that from them, perhaps not so explicitly, the need to ask questions is what drives us, right? So, like I said, and I'm not kidding, for me, when I try to have a student who wants to come to the lab or a tech wants to come to the lab, very often my first question is, do you like cooking? Right? It's the best science lab that you can ever have. We don't think about it, right? So if you ask the question, why is naan softer than roti? Right? What makes a sourdough bread different from a focaccia bread? Right? Whole field of biochemistry started because we wanted to do better beer. Right? I hope it's okay. It's not being recorded, but it's the truth. Right? So the syllabi, focus studies, all of them are important. You heard from all the way, right? The best thing that you can do is to sow that passion, right? To be able to ask the question, why do you cook rice in a pressure cooker? How is it different from just putting it on the water and boiling it, right? It's a much harder for a kid to learn PV equals 103 MNC square. But they will understand when you leave a balloon up after 2 days, it's going to come. Right? So there is this big misconception that science is tough. It's not. It truly is not. You know, it drives every one of us. We just don't pay enough attention, right? So I would encourage everybody to do this, right? Just ask regular questions, okay? We are foodies, so I'll just take one example and shop. We are foodies at home, and Indians, I'm a South Indian, my favorite pickle is avocado, the small mango, right? But I learned to appreciate sauerkraut, kimchi, and a whole lot of pickles. You can have an entire course, actually Harvard does. If you ever wanted to do that, there is something called Cooking and Science, some title like that. They have had it for about 20 years, I want to say, by now. How do you transform chemicals? There is no better way to learn. You have a kitchen in front of you, right? And you get a benefit, right? Get your kid to learn to cook. A life skill too.
Good. So just to add to what Dr. Venkat just said, you know, ask questions, and now with AI will provide you the answers. So you don't have to guess what the answer is, right? Now one more point is, this is science MTP, but the first question was on math. So the point I want to raise is, you don't have to force the kid to do science or math, right, based on your passions, right? So what I would say, I guess more as a parent, is expose the kids to everything, both education and non-educational activities, and then see where the child's passion is, and then allow the child to grow in those areas. Okay, other questions? Yes, go ahead.
You obviously all love science, so I'm just curious how you plan to apply it in life. Do you have plans? I know you have a college kid here.
I'm currently studying electrical engineering and computer science, and also trying to do physics double. So right now, I'm doing a robotics internship at a robotics startup up in Pittsburgh. I'm applying science every single day, from designing different mechanical parts to designing different electrical systems for humanoid robots. Specifically, I'm making robotic hands for humanoids. I'm applying it every single day. I really enjoy it. I highly encourage people to pursue engineering if they want to apply science. But in college, like the traditional sciences is more of like a research pathway, and it's definitely more like on the theory side and stuff. So like, if you're someone who really likes to build, I found that I really enjoyed doing engineering and just building stuff in high school. So like, I highly encourage to go down that pathway. It's definitely challenging, but like, it's really fun. And if you like pursuing challenges and kind of like learning and stuff, I think engineering is a great pathway to go down.
Thank you. He's a college student, so I think that's like a first-hand experience. But for me, almost going there, I think the key thing is, like, I hinted at this in the earlier introductory, like, spiel, but the main thing is that you're now, like, as you go into high school, college, and, like, post-college, your main thing is that you're not, like, reading stuff, or you're still reading stuff, but that's not, like, the main thing. You're also, like, researching and adding, in engineering, you're applying the stuff that's, like, in the textbook, and then building stuff, but in, like, I'm currently interested in biology, and so what we're doing is like adding stuff to the textbook by doing research and stuff. So my current work is like computational biology, how that affects like living systems, and that's what I do like with universities, NASA, things like that. And so once you get into high school and college, you gotta look out for internships and research and start working with them. And then to answer your like the previous question about like the how to study and materials, I think there's like a 4-step pathway that like pretty much summarizes what everyone has said. So the first one is like your interest. You gotta do something that will like spike your interest. This could be like going outside to a national park, going to a museum, aquarium, or something like that, or a zoo, or watching like a simple TV show that you find interesting. So those are the 3 things that or like cooking. But that's like one of the things you gotta do to start off, get that interest. Then after you need to form a basis, and so this is where you need to understand basic scientific concepts. And so this is like a North-South class, a YouTube playlist, a textbook. So it's something that will teach you all the basics of like straight hard science. And so once you learn that, you'll learn like facts in your head, mitochondria, powerhouses of cells, things like that. And then once you move out from that, then you'll start looking at and diving into things that you like have questions. And this is where the curiosity aspect, the why comes into play. So you have to, like, let's say you read plants are green because of chlorophyll. You have to ask why are the leaves specifically green? To make like glucose, right? And so if the leaves are green to make glucose from the chlorophyll, why are stems green in growing plants? Do they make glucose as well? Why in trees is the bark brown and not green? Why wouldn't they need to make glucose? So then you got to start asking your questions, and this is where the AI comes into play, where you can like ask GPT or Claude your questions. And then the final step is like straight up for preparing for competitions. So this is taking model tests, like memorizing like competition facts. Like for example, like electrical, like all the electrical units, inventors and everything. Before every competition, I just memorize that because I always forget it after every time. So it's like before a competition, you have competition prep. So that's the 4 main steps.
And just to add to that, so if you fast forward these kids' lives over next 20 or 30 years, that's what we guys are, right? So how do we apply science, right? So in my case, I'm a physician by training, but I do more science right now than seeing patients. And the reason is I want to know why the disease is happening. How do you manage the disease better, right? So science lives with you throughout life.
Yeah. So I'll definitely echo that, and I also want to say this, but that's my bias. I was trained as a biochemist, became a molecular biologist, was always interested in neuroscience. And today, yesterday Chandra and I were talking, the skill that I am missing and regretting is coding, right? So there is a very nice saying in Hindu scripture, Ano Adraha Krito Yantu Vishvataha. All that says is that let noble thoughts come to us from everywhere, right? So to some extent, and it kind of echoed in the previous sense, knowledge is all around us. It's up to us to perceive. And where I see science particularly stepping in is to identify what thoughts are noble, right? There is no useless knowledge in general, because the little bit of physics that I learned and gave up is now coming back. Everybody talked about engineering. We still have a problem having a robot reproducing the gait of a human being, right? So, and again, as I say, this is my bias. Yes, it will do a lot, but the first word is artificial. So, we are endowed with natural intelligence, which at least is, AI has yet to caught up with it, right? And very often you see that AI outputs need to be double-checked. You need to understand the logic and process. It can spew out nonsense, right? So that ability to discriminate is the larger journey. We are still learning. We are absolutely learning. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to add something really quickly. I really appreciated your point about AI because there's also a lot of research going on into how can we make AI explain its processes. So that's really what I'm focusing in high school. I think Sid mentioned computational biology. So my research is primarily focusing on ophthalmology in an eye condition called keratoconus. It's essentially seeing with the common deep learning networks like CNNs and vision transformers, are they able to explain how they got to their diagnosis? Because at the end of the day, getting the right diagnosis is needed, but also making sure that the AI can explain how it got there is also needed for patients to be able to trust that. So as you guys are looking to go into more research, I would also highly encourage you guys not only to look at how AI models perform, but how they can explain themselves performing so that doctors can actually trust their outputs.
Yeah. I have bring another perspective to science. Okay, I'm an engineer, mathematics, right? 1 + 1 is 2, right? That's how I grew up. But I'm learning important science. I'll give you a good example. In a car engine, we put gasoline, right? Suppose you, instead of gasoline, you put diesel. What happens? Right? Children, what happens when you put diesel fuel? The engine breaks down, right? Engine becomes dead. Take ourselves. We eat food, right? Our stomach is like an engine. You eat food. If you don't eat food, you don't live. Right? So when you eat food, what do? We put all kinds of stuff into our stomach, right? McDonald's hamburgers, right? Put the fries and all kinds of stuff, right? We don't realize what is your body is doing. That's science. What is your body is doing? Body is trying to figure out, oh, what did this guy eat, right? What do I do to digest, right? It has to figure out, it has to do some investigation in what you put in, all the junk. It does, right? It's a beautiful engine that God created. It's a beautiful engine. How do you need to understand that? If you don't understand how our own stomach works, right? Because what is most important in life? Your body. Your body has to be in good shape. Your mind has to be in good shape. Right? Only when your body is in good shape, your mind is in good shape, you'll be healthy. Right? That's important. So science to me, I look at different. So every individual, all of us should know science. Should know science. I have a problem. At my age, I have a problem with my eyes, one eye, and then I go to the doctor. You're talking about the 21st century, right? 21st century, science so much advanced. And they test all that stuff, and they say at the end, it is unspecified. If they can't figure it out, they call it unspecified. That's the answer. That's it. That means they don't know. Right? So what you didn't know 100 years ago, some of the things we know now. It's the advance of science. It's the research. That's what Dr. Mohan does. Right? He said he's a doctor, but he's doing more science, research. Through research you find out, right? You make our bodies better, our mind better, right? So I look at differently science is because we don't understand it. What do you have problem with obesity in the United States? What do you have obesity? It's man created. We created it because we don't understand science. We don't apply science to ourselves. Right? So thank you. I'm sorry I'm taking too much time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Siddarth. Thank you. So I guess the slides are up already. So can you go to the very first slide? Because I go to the laptop here. So whoever's controlling the laptop. Yeah, the laptop's up there front. Yeah. Can you go to the very first slide? Yeah, that's good. Next slide. So we'll quickly go through a couple of cool websites. As you know, there are hundreds of websites. So we have filtered down maybe 10 or so websites, which we thought were pretty cool. Next slide. So let's start with this one, for example. It's a science kits. So for each of these, I've got the URL there. So you can take a picture if you want. But this will be also put on the NSF website, so you can take a look at it. But you can see at the top, there's a whole list of things you can do in this website. And the last but one is videos. You will click on video. Next slide. You'll see videos on various topics. And they are varying in difficulty levels. But depending on what the child's interest is, they can click on any of these and learn more about science. Next slide. Here's another website. This is called Generation Genius. Again, it's got very nice videos and little movies on science. Next slide. Here's an example of some of the content. Now, in many of these websites I'm showing you, there's a free version and also a paid version. And on most of these websites, in the free version itself, there's so much content, right? It will take you a lifetime to go through all those videos and all of these sites. Next slide. This is a PHET, PET. It's a great website for middle schoolers, high schoolers and above. And it has got very nice explanations with little movies, clips to explain various concepts. For example, next slide. Here's one such movie explaining sound. What is amplitude, what is frequency, and how sound waves can interfere with each other. Now, you can click on these various buttons and you'll see the effects. So when you see things moving, you learn much more than when you see things static. Next question, next slide. Here's one on colors. So when you look at different colors, primary colors, what are secondary colors, what's the impact of green and blue coming together, all of that you can do it in real time. Right? And you can adjust the color bars on the right, for example, and see what the net effect is. Next slide. Here's one on chemistry. You can look at different structures of different molecules. So it's a great way to learn molecular organization of molecules. Next slide. Here's one on ecology, evolution. There's also a section on that. And again, you can see, you can play around with various variables and see what happens to the ecosystem. Next slide. So this is orology from the American Museum of Natural History. So you can see there's a whole list of topic areas in biology, earth and space, physics and chemistry. Next slide. This is Earth Science for Kids from Duxters. So in the Duxters website, you can see there's a lot of content on science and geography. Next slide. Now, NASA has got several websites with educational content. Put two of them here. The first one. So this is from Space Place. So you can see, you can click on any of those topics, Earth, Sun, Solar System, and so on, and learn more. Next slide. So for example, if you click on, next slide, Solar System, the very nice animation showing you what an eclipse is, what a lunar eclipse is, what a solar eclipse is, how it actually happens. Next slide. It's another website from NASA, NASA's Eyes, science.nasa.gov. And you can see again in real time different spatial objects, different cosmic objects, exactly where they are and where they're traveling. Next slide. This is from Amoeba Sisters. Some of this content is more appropriate for maybe middle school and high school kids. They explain even high school material in very simple terms. So you can easily follow exactly what mitosis is, for example. Next slide. This is from Size Show Kids. Again, there are lots of different videos you can see at the bottom. Here's a couple of examples of videos. Next slide. This is from Nat Geo Kids. Again, you can see there's a second button is videos. You can click on that. A lot of science topics covered as well. Next slide. This is Peekaboo Kids. I think Dr. Venkat mentioned also. So again, lots of nice videos from a different angle, explaining science from a different angle. So might appeal to kids more. Next slide. Now besides the URLs I shared with you, there are also sites where you can quiz yourself. So I'll show 2 examples. So here's one, kahoot.com. So on any of these topics, you can quiz yourself and see how well you know a particular topic area. So here are some examples of questions from another website. This is called GimKit. So Kahoot and GimKit are 2 good sites for quizzing yourself. Next slide. Now this is a bit more advanced. It's bio-interactive. Great way to learn for middle school, more for high school students and beyond. So again, explains different parts of the immune system, different parts of the body, for example, on this slide in great detail. I think that's it, yeah. So those are the main websites I've put together, but this was put together with input from all the students here, and Dr. Venkat and Dr. Lax as well. But keep exploring. There's so much interactive content online. So we can go back to the Q&A, unless there are any questions to these slides. Okay, back to parents and children. Questions? Yeah, go ahead. Your Science Olympiad journey.
Yeah, so Science Olympiad, I started doing it in 6th grade. So I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. The school I went to, at least, is pretty known for Science Olympiad, both in middle and high school. So I think one thing is there was a competitive atmosphere at my middle school and my high school where a lot of people did it. So it was really easy to get into. I personally did pretty much only engineering events and the hybrid events. So if those of you who are unfamiliar with Science Olympiad, what they do is this organization will have 15 or so events, and they span across all realms of science and engineering. So in terms of science, this would be anatomy, and if you look at the NSF competitions, this is more I guess on the biology type of things. We have disease detectives, anatomy, physiology, micromission. These are all actual Science Olympiad events that exist, and they focus on those topics. And then you'll have physical science events. I remember from my time there was events like density lab. There's a density lab, food science. These were more on the chemistry side of things. Then you had physical side. So one of my favorite events was called Machines, which focused on all applications of simple machines and just basic physics. And then they have engineering events, so some of them are wheeled vehicle, where you're building mousetrap cars, spoon lever, where you're building cantilever beams. There's gravity vehicle, where you're building gravity-based cars. So there's so many different events that widespread, so I'm sure your child can find an interest in one of the 16 events that exist for each rotation. I definitely say my journey was really progressive. I was at 6th grade, I wasn't placing. I was more of really exploring the sciences, really exploring all these different topics. I didn't really study as much, but then as I progressed over the years, that's when I started to actually study, put in 5 to 10 hours a week, or closer to 20 as you get closer to competition. Really actually expand what events I wanted to do. So originally I was kind of just doing studying because I wanted to stray away from engineering. But then coming into high school, all I did was engineering events. I specifically focused on the car events and building those. I found those to be very fun because I always knew I wanted to be an engineer, so I kind of used that as an outlet of kind of exploring the field more and just getting more hands-on practice with it. You also referenced Physics Olympiad. That journey started the summer going into 9th grade. So you can, at least for Physics Olympiad, you take a qualifying exam, and then depending on your score on that, you take the next exam. So the qualifying exam is called F=MA, which is a 25 question, or I forgot if it's 20, it's around 20 questions, and it's all on introductory mechanics. It's a mechanics exam and some fluids. So you can take that depending on your score and what the cutoff is.
you can then take the next like USFO exam, which then dictates like if you can get a medal or not, whether it be like gold, silver, bronze, whatever. But yeah, I did that all throughout high school. And then there's also just like other Olympiads other than like the official ones. So I did a lot of online physics Olympiads, specifically, I forgot what it's called, but I did this one where it's actually like hosted in Iceland, and my team, we played so well that we actually were able to get an all-expense paid trip to Iceland to compete in like a more selective version of it. So yeah, it's definitely just exploring the competition. And one thing I'll say is like, if your child doesn't like the competition, there's no reason to continue to force them to do it. There are so many different avenues to explore science that you're doing more harm than good by telling them to like continuously pursue this type of thing. Like, I think competition science is definitely not for everyone, because it's a lot of times competition science sometimes really stresses like memorization and rather than like inquiry. I feel like a lot of people would rather prefer just like really exploring the field and like going more in depth into things that they want to learn. So that's where I really highly recommend getting into research whenever you have like the foundational knowledge. Research you could probably get into like 10th grade onwards, I'd say, like 9th grade. That's when you can really start kind of having an impact on whatever lab you're joining. But like, you don't really have to stress competition science always. There's definitely more than one avenue to explore science and really learn.
So you heard from somebody who's like done his Olympiad journey. I'm like in the middle of my Olympiad journey. So to like answer your question from somebody in the middle, like firstly, contrary to his thing, I hate build events. So that's one thing about like the difference. And so I can still do Olympiad, so that's one thing nice about it. Even though I really don't like build and I like study events. And so it's like whatever it's up to. But like to answer your question, there's like a key distinction to be made between Science Olympiad and like international Olympiads. So you have international Olympiads, which are mainly for high school, but if you're like super smart middle schooler, you can go for it. But it's where you go and compete internationally, as like the name suggests. And that's like IFO, IMO, all those stuff. And so those are the international Olympiads, which you would do in like high school. And then you have Science Olympiad, which is like the one with the globe, but with the logo on it with 16 events. And so that's the one most middle schoolers and elementary schoolers, high schoolers would be doing. So I just started that, and my school, like I know his school because he said Kentucky. So there's like names in the Science Olympiad like area that those schools are really good. But there's also like a downside to being like, given that Science Olympiad is really school based, because my middle school was not a very good school. And so if your school is not that good, competing in Science Olympiad will be extremely difficult because your school as a whole must advance, as compared to like other competitions like North-South, other competitions where it's individual or like teams of 4. And so that's like a important thing because it's based on your school. And if your school is not that good and you can't find like 32 people that are down to do it plus like 2 teachers that are really going to do it, it might not be worth it. So yeah.
Just to add to that, so for those of you who are middle school kids and also high school kids, many schools offer Science Olympiad, many schools offer Science Bowl. If your school offers only one of the 2, definitely give it a try. The chance to give it a try to see whether the child likes it. Now, if you are fortunate and the school offers both the competitions, I would say try both and see what the kid likes better. If the school doesn't offer any of these, a parent can initiate the big starting of a club.
I'd also like to add on to Science Olympiad. I just started doing Science Olympiad in 6th grade. Our school was also very into Science Olympiad because when I was in 6th grade, that's when they first opened it. And we were the first Science Olympiad team for a public school in the county. And I don't like doing build events. I like doing quiz events, like anatomy and physiology, which is what I did this year in the competition. And our school is really, since our school is really new, we only had like 15 people instead of like the 32 that he said, and we only had 1 teacher. But next year we're planning on doubling that number, and we're planning on moving on to the next level. But what I like to say is for quiz events, if you go to the Science Olympiad official page, there are tons of sources. You can use it for Science Olympiad at your school and for Northside Foundation. So I'd say look at all the sources, lots of information. It's really good to use. That's it.
I'll also elaborate about your question about different types of Olympiads. So, like I did the USFO, the biology Olympiad. I'm still doing it right now. I'm also doing Science School. I'm the president of my school's club. So, just as we mentioned earlier, like if your school has either Science Olympiad or Science School, definitely give it a try.
So to first elaborate about Biology Olympiad, the USABO, that's only available in high school and it qualifies you for the IDEO. Essentially how it works is you take an open exam that's open to everybody. There's around like 10,000 or so people who take the open exam. From there you qualify for the semifinal exam, and then from there you qualify for internationals. And then for Science Bowl, again, I highly recommend you guys do this if you can. It's a buzzer-based competition. It's not a quiz. So how it works is that you're given toss-ups and bonuses. So a toss-up is available for both teams. You buzz in. It's in any category in science pretty much, and then the bonuses are adding on to that. So if your school doesn't have a Science Bowl team, definitely just find a few students, a teacher, and create one, because it's really an amazing opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., meet with the Department of Energy, and it's a great experience overall.
And note that NSF offers both, right, events that pattern after Science Olympiad, as well as Science Bowl, which is phase 3 of the senior science. So both opportunities are here. Now the word Olympiad can be confusing to parents who are new to this. So we talked about Science Bowl and Science Olympiad. So these are pretty general since they cover all topics in science. And if the kid is interested, a high school kid is interested in a particular branch of science, let's say physics, then you can go on to do the Physics Olympiad. Similarly, a Chemistry Olympiad, and you have a Biology Olympiad, there's a Computer Science Olympiad, and a few other Olympiads in other topics too. Right? So you have Science Bowl and Science Olympiad going all the way through all the different grades, and then you can specialize in one of the topics.
I just probably am going to go a little bit against the grain. Usually my nature, right? As parents, hard lessons, okay? And as somebody who works with the brain, again, something you have to remember is that as long you have a sensory input, you're not processing it, right? So one thing I would definitely share with you is that there is a biological imperative to have downtime, right? So you cannot learn without processing what has been put in. So please make sure that you find out your child's limits, right? Don't move them from classes to classes, they can only soak in so much, and they learn a lot more when they have the time to digest that and understand it, because then you know it for the rest of your life. Number one. Number two, please know this, please understand this, and this requires a lot of patience, and I learned to cultivate that patience, right? So if you think about competitions, I mean, all of these are accomplished folks here, they are fantastic, but I want to present two cases from my experience, right? So I used to run the brain lead. There is a person, Meghna, I'm forgetting the last name, Shashank's elder sister. This is from years ago. Conducted the brain lead. She never won a national contest or anything like that. Today she's a pediatric neurologist. Would you count that as a win? I definitely do, right? On the other hand, we have Harini, who's part of our team, who's a freshman this year. Very similar journeys, very similar approaches. She won the 3rd prize at the International Brain League. But she's not choosing neurology, if I remember right? So she's going, so the thing is that, please, those divisions are gone. You heard many different ways from us. Math, physics, biology, all those are disappearing, right? So trust your kid a little bit, give them the processing time, and this is NSF philosophy, this is nothing new, right? Competition is truly a way of testing yourself, right? How much you know, have you become better compared to last year, right? It's not about the top 3 prizes, that's great, it's a byproduct, right? As a parent, it's a little hard to kind of live with that. Oh, you've been competing for 5 years and you haven't won anything. You heard from the youngest member. You heard from him very clearly. what was best, all the friends and company he learned. Right? So this is a community that fosters learning. So as parents, I think it's good for us to kind of keep that. So for me, it was good to find my own balance here, right? So,
yeah. Never push your kids. The kids don't have to be this caliber of kids. Everyone here is good. Everyone reading here is good. Everyone who's participating is good, right? So I think you have to give positive encouragement and not raise the bar too high that the kid can't perform at all. Other questions? Yes.
Sorry, I just joined this event. I was a little bit late. So you might have already discussed about the resources for elementary and middle school students. Can you just summarize in a couple of lines any information, key information or resources to share for elementary and middle school focused page?
Yeah, so I showed several websites and the URLs, and we'll be posting this on the NSF website. So you can take a look at it and visit the different websites and see which one the kid likes. Other questions?
Chandra, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Chandra, I just want to bring into the attention the podcast. There are all the journals, especially all those incredible podcasts, which are 10 minutes, and the kids could listen to it. And science, nature, that really tells them the latest things in a very concise fashion. I think that's something that the young people should, even the parents should follow. It will be useful. That's all.
Yeah, science podcast. So we'll also include that in the URLs. Other questions?
I was just going to invite one more time. We do have Science Bowl sometime this afternoon.
1 p.m.
Okay. Yeah, 1 p.m. So, again, going back to that thing about, you will see the way Science Bowl works is not testing your knowledge of what you know and what you can recall, but it is also about strategy. It's also about making a decision. It's also about being sure of yourself, right? So again, it's a lot of fun. They are already under tremendous pressure. Who is on the sea is under tremendous pressure. But again, like gold, the more you put it through hard treatments, the better it shines, right? So again, I want to please visit, even if you don't have a high school kid. Many of you are asking, you can see where you can go to. Does your kid want it? Are you able to provide all of this? As an organization, as a community, we are here to provide the help in every way, right? So just have fun.
So 1 p.m. in the Kresge Auditorium. Okay, unless there are any other questions from the audience, let me close by thanking these stars. Let's have one more round of applause for these stars. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all the panelists and all the teams who participated in this.
Thanks, everyone.
Sorry we had some technical glitches to get it over smoothly, but nevertheless it went very well. I only wanted to emphasize that this is a very rare opportunity you get to see the experts and the budding experts in the same stage and sharing their opinion, because Dr. Chandra, Mohan and Dr. Venkat have been at it for years, number of years, and Alex and Raj, everybody, and they've been doing it, and he used to come every year and present it, but this year unfortunately was held up in Boston. So this is a rare opportunity where we meet the experts who explain what they did, how they did, and what can you do. Life doesn't stop with the contest, like he said, nobody wins everything. So it's all fail and day process. And we call them pros, but they are not really pros. They are learning too. They are just budding youngsters. But they did do a little bit better than the other kids in the past. So we try to encourage them, we'll try to highlight them and say, hey, tomorrow you could be here too. So like that. So winning is not what we are trying to promote, but extra efforts. These guys started as anybody else, and didn't score. Even in regionals, they never even came anywhere close. But they kept at it. They kept on working on it. They kept on doing things, competing, and slowly and slowly, they are here at the stage. So every one of you can do it. Dr. Chituri says every ordinary child can do extraordinary things. So please, like the expert said, encourage them to reach their limit, but not push over the limits. That's all we can say. And then thank you, everybody. So we are going to have a little break, and then at 10 o'clock we are going to meet again to meet with the geography experts, geography students, and then we'll have a session. And further down, we are going to talk about learning journey, what we are offering, and what you can make use of them. And finally, we are going to end up with the non-profit by the Sashank family. They got Vidya Rights Foundation. They are going to talk a little bit about what they are doing and why they are doing. So we have 3 more sessions to go after 10 o'clock. So please come back whenever you have time, and then we will see you back here.
Thank you.
Please give a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Lakshmanan.